Life Teen really takes that to heart and really shows that, and they express it so well in each of their life nights. They incorporate a lot into it, and they make sure that they get a nice and a nice variety. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Any other questions? Sorry.
No, I'm done. I'm done bogging us down.
I'm just
We'll keep going.
Okay.
Okay, hospitality, just like you had asked, this is the key to the gather. This is the key. I mean, we want the kids to feel involved. We want the core members and leadership, I don't want to get in your way, but we have the core members and leadership teams greeting and welcoming everyone to youth nights. We want to introduce ourselves, especially to the teens. They can, you know, there's nothing kind of more standoffish to the teens than, you know, for the, like all the other kids to know who all the adults are, but them to not know the adults at all. And like they want to feel part of it too. They want to feel like they know people. Like introduce yourself, you know. Like even if you have to stand up at the beginning and just introduce yourself again, or what might better work would just be like making sure that all the adults get and introduce themselves to the new person, or so you don't have to do a formal hi again. You know, we did this last week, but hello, my name is Priscilla. So what might work just better is making sure that anybody new really does know who you are, and especially if you're starting out. I mean, that's when you need that kind of
This
kind
is
of
more
move.
important for core than it is for the support.
Yes.
You know, if you're not like an outgoing person, don't be intimidated that you have to. And the core, if you think, oh, if that sounds really, oh yeah, I want to be one of those people, then core is a place for you. And if you're, you know, I don't know about introducing myself to teenagers, then it's probably not for you. But there's still a role for you in being support and helping set up.
Well, and I think that's good too, though, because there's gonna be some kids that come in and that are not gonna be all vivacious and in everybody's face either.
Right.
So if you're a little more mellow and not like, group hug everybody, I mean, they'll like that.
Right.
And there's some people maybe that would love to be part of it, but maybe can't because they got a ton of other kids or a few other kids to watch over. So.
Yeah, I know I personally consider myself very introverted, so I'm kind of, I think I am able to connect more with the teens on a personal level and, one-on-one basis, and small groups are really like, that's what I enjoy a lot more than standing up in front of people, so that there is a role, if you are more of an introverted person, if you're not the group hug, all right, everybody, do this, there's a role for you too. I mean,
sure.
So it's not.
Well, there's also name tags, not a bad idea.
It's true, and name tags really do come in really well with dividing your kids into small groups. There's a lot of fun ways that you can hide, who they're going to be on a name tag basically, and then divide them into small groups later. That way, there's a lot of name tags can be really useful. So not just with introducing people, but with tricking the teens into small groups later. So they just don't know it yet. So, so if you see new teens or alone, individually introduce new teens to other teens in the group. You want to, like I mentioned earlier, you really want to make them, feel like they know someone or have a connection with somebody. Oh, you play volleyball, this person plays volleyball too, or you play the violin, this person plays the violin too. Which is kind of good for all of us to really, we want to get to know our teens, right? We want to know a little bit about each teen, especially the ones that aren't so, just like the adults, might not be real extroverted, some of those teens might not, so we want to get to know them. We want to get to know some of their hobbies, so we can introduce them to other people, and so we can ask them about it and make them feel like, oh wow, they remember not just my name, but what I like to do. Like, oh cool, I feel important. So, all right, community building, another part of the gather. Like I mentioned before, skits is very oftentimes a technique that Life Teen uses, and the skits can be done by the core, they can be done by the teens. You can throw the teens a costume real quick when they come in and say, all right, you're going to be this person, or you're going to be that. And hand them a script. That can work.
That's the last we'll see of that person. Oh, no.
That'll get them there on time.
I was going to say, yeah, you bet. Everybody will show up late.
Maybe. Again, volunteer yourself.
Definitely a technique that can be used just to really get the kids, get them up and get them doing something. So there's trivia, there's puzzles, games, contest videos, minute-to-win-it ideas. Those are always fun. But like I said, oftentimes they're all specifically written out in that, not oftentimes, all the time, they're specifically written out in that Life Teen outline. So you can choose what they have there, or if you personally think that something else would work better, just swap it. I don't really care for this puzzle, but what if we did this instead? Or I don't care for this skit, but what if we did a contest instead? So, whatever you think is going to work, and that's all up to the groups that are planning, which is us. So, the proclaim. Just as the word of God is proclaimed at Mass, the message of the youth night is proclaimed during this section of Youth Night. Just as Scripture is meant to teach and instruct the church as a living body of truth, Youth Night teachings are meant to speak truth on catechetical teachings, cultural issues, and social situations that teens face in their daily walk. Now, the real great part about this proclaim section is that most of the times, we're not going to be giving it. One of the catechists are going to be giving it. That Josh, the people who already were involved in RE and who still want to teach, we're going to be giving them an outline, and they can go from there. So, it's kind of what I'm going to do, the next couple slides, not necessarily applicable. Sometimes we'll be giving,
Unless you want to.
yeah, we can. That's true, but,
Bring our sleeping bags.
so we really do have that option of using a catechist as well. So,
Or father or deacon or somebody, if it's, you think that the priest should give that talk or
Right.
something,
Right. Just right here, it says, proclaims can be taught by a variety of people, including the core members, the priests, the youth ministers, outside speakers, parents, or even other teams for witness talks or testimonies. Each planning team will have an assigned catechist, just like we talked about, who will normally be available to give the talk, but they're not going to be involved in the planning meeting or anything like that. They're kind of shoot them the email of what the talk's about, and we'll kind of let them go from there. A good rule of thumb, though, is to keep the talks between 10 and 20 minutes. Just don't want to have to listen for too long. Everyone's attention span is limited, not just the teens, especially nowadays when everything's quickly coming at us. There's a number of ways that we can present proclaim teaching. They can be tag team talks. For example, someone starts the talk off and gives the first portion of it. Person number 2 comes up and gives the next portion. Person number 3 gives the next portion, or 1, 2, 1, 2, any pattern you want it. There can be debates, there can be pre-made videos. I know one time we had a personal testimony from St. Paul, and he talked about his conversion story, but that was obviously on a video, and it was one of our core members all dressed up like St. Paul, and it was kind of fun for the kids. I mean, they obviously recognized who it was, but it was still kind of a neat way to go about it. But that takes up, a little bit more planning. I mean, you got to make sure you do that the time before. A couple weeks before or a week before, make sure that you've got the video set up, and that gets into all that. So you can also have personal witnesses, testimonies, question and answer, monologues, dialogues, methods in which teens are involved in the execution of the teachings. Yeah, any way to get the kids involved in teaching it too is really great, especially if you want to, that's always an option, separating the kids into smaller groups, kind of giving them and having them do part of each teaching, having them teach the rest of the group is always really helpful, because it really gets them solid on what they have to teach because they have to then present it to everybody else. So that's definitely always a good method. Any effective proclaim or youth talk must do 3 things: communicate your topic, convince the teens the topic is truth, and be interesting and engaging. We don't want them to fall asleep. Especially if it's going to be on a Sunday morning, Following principles work in preparing a proclaim. We want to talk rather than read. We want to stand up. Use visual aids, props, or even PowerPoints. I know sometimes kids are a little bored when it comes to PowerPoints, but you can use anything. Posters, stand up, be creative with it. Vary the pitch of your voice, speak loudly and clearly and confidently, make eye contact with the teens, use humor, get into character, possibly using costumes, add impact with audience participation opportunities, be real and tell your story, focus on the main points, finish your talk within the time limit, summarize your talk at the beginning and at the end, notice your teams and respond to their needs, and emulate excellence and excellent speakers. So, that's proclaim. So obviously anyone who is giving the talk is really going to want to feel comfortable in standing up in front of the teens and giving a talk and proclaiming, unless you do choose to have a catechist. And a good thing that I know Josh would really encourage is having whatever someone's going to talk about, maybe having them outline what they're going to talk about, and then sending it to him, or maybe even reviewing it with him so he can give you pointers and, maybe you should stick with this, or, limit the amount of time you talk about that, or, just have someone else give you pointers. It's always helpful to stand up in front of somebody and give a presentation first in front of them so they can help you out. So Josh really would encourage that. And and especially sending an outline of whatever you guys do come up with, and the entire planning of it, the gather, the proclaim, the break, and ascend. You know, we have that outline from Life Team, but it would be really great to, I'll give us an example, sorry. It'd be really great to email Josh and say, okay, you know, this is what we have, this is what we plan on doing. Like, yes, this is what Life Team has written out, but here's what we plan on doing. Here's what we're gonna modify. We're not necessarily gonna do this, we're gonna do this instead, or you don't have to say, we're not gonna do this, we're gonna do this instead. What you can just say is, here's what we're gonna do, basically. Here's what we're gonna do for the gather, here's what we're gonna do for the proclaim, here's what we're gonna do for the send, here's what we're gonna do for the break and the send. So here is an example of that. This is actually something that Josh had written up for in his previous parish. So just a quick little outline of a Life Night. He's got where it's going to be. He's got who's going to be doing what. Welcoming, let's see, move to the science lab. Then proclaim and the break.
Proclaim the break, baby. Yahoo!
So he's got, you know, look how he's got the different groups set up. He's got who, you know, which core members are going to be in charge of which groups. So you know, you can send this out to everybody in your group, and they can have this, and they know exactly what they're going to do for the night. You know, when they show up there that morning, they're like, okay, whew, I know what we're going to do. I know exactly where, you know, how we're going to move from point A to point B to point C. So
This is a pretty involved one. Most aren't this involved. It's got that down to like the minute on.
It's like,
So, you know, it even talks about snacks. Are they going to be available? This is good. This is important stuff for all the kids. So this is a good one-page outline of, you know, what's actually going to be happening throughout the night. So thanks, Josh, for this example. So this is ideal of what Josh would like to see emailed to him prior to each night.
Okay, I just had a quick question. Is there a time that we can make it for the kids to just simply chat for like 15 minutes, or is that dangerous? I mean, does everybody feel like, you know, we can't just have them do nothing?
Yeah, I mean, generally that's the why they should come early or stay later. Most youth groups that are successful have the kids, you tell them to come a half hour early, and then, you know, so you would even say, well, the problem with the Wednesday night right now is that